Well, hello and welcome to More to the Story with Molly White. I'm so glad you joined me again today. And listen, we're going to do a two-part series because our special guest is going to take two parts so we can cover everything that we want to talk about today. But before I introduce him by phone, he's joining us by phone because we've been having some technical difficulties. I want to welcome my awesome, wonderful co-host, Mary Browning.
Thank you, Molly. It's so good to be on the program today, and I'm excited about our guest today, too.
Yeah, let me tell you, it's been a challenge to get him on. We've had all kinds of technical difficulties, but we're going to persevere and we're going to do it with him by phone, like I mentioned. So without any further ado, let's just welcome Tom Glessner. Tom is the founder of the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates for nearly 30 years ago. On the anniversary of the Dobbs decision, Mr. Glessner was profiled as one of the top 50 pro-life leaders of the last 50 years in the legacy of life, alongside Ronald Reagan and Mother Teresa. Now, that's quite an accomplishment. Tom serves and represents a network of more than 1,700 pregnancy centers and medical clinics across the nation. NIFLA has challenged laws targeting its member centers in several states, including California, Hawaii, Illinois, North Dakota, New York, and Vermont. NIFLA successfully challenged a California law forcing pro-life pregnancy centers to advertise for abortion. The landmark case NIFLA versus Becerra secured the free speech rights of not only pregnancy centers, but all Americans on June 26, 2018. He's authored several books, his most recent entitled Created Equal, Reflections of the Unalienable Right to Life, highlights the constitutional protection of most of our vulnerable citizens, children in the womb. He's appeared in media outlets such as Fox News, USA Today, Tucker Carlson, CBN News, EWTN, 700 Club, The Washington Examiner, the Washington Times, Town Hall, National View, The Federalist, and many more. And we are so happy to have him on More to the Story with Molly White podcast. Tom is a University of Washington School of Law graduate and a member of the Bar Association for the Supreme Court of the United States, as well as the states of Washington and Virginia. Tom, we welcome you to the show. Thank you for persevering with us.
Thank you, Molly. I don't think they'll listen. I didn't understand the trauma we were all going through.
I'm telling you,
get this thing going.
I know,
but hopefully now they'll listen carefully because I'm not. They don't have my image, but they'll have to listen to me.
Well, that'll work, and we'll have your image up here. So, Tom, tell us a little bit. How and why did you get started in the pro-life movement?
Wow. Well, I was a young. Well, I got to be brief on this because I know we're limited for time, but I could talk the whole time on this one. I was a young lawyer in Seattle, and my wife was a speech therapist with the profoundly handicapped and disabled, and it was during the time period that 1979, I would gear the year we really dove into it. And what came out at that time was a book by evangelical theologian Francis Schaeffer called "Whatever Happened to the Human Race," and a movie they made too. And it just and we just said, if we really believe we're Christians, then we better do what we can here. And from that point, 1982, we got involved. In 1982, we founded the first, what was then called Crisis Pregnancy Center in the Northwest in Seattle. I was a chairman. My wife became a director. And we moved and aggressively pursued it. I then was hired by the Christian Action Council in Washington, D.C. in 1987, now known as CareNet. I served there for 5 years. And then I stepped down to found NIFLA, the National Institute of Family and Life Advocates, to be a legal organization for pro-life pregnancy centers. And you said 1,700. You've got a data there. It's over 1,800 now.
Wow, so, wonderful.
1,800, of which over 1,600 are licensed medical clinics.
Mm.
So probably in the discussion, I can explain the differences and why we do that. So, and we've had a Supreme Court victory. We've got currently 7 cases in federal court based on our victory in the Supreme Court, and we're winning all of them. So I'm really excited to give everybody some good news. We are winning in the courts right now for pregnancy centers.
We certainly are. We're winning so much that Planned Parenthood is being very desperate and running commercials on TV, about, how terrible it is that they may not be funded, and all the good services they provide. So yes, we are winning the battle. So let's tell our listeners the difference between a licensed medical center and a pregnancy resource center.
Okay, sure. So back in the early days, we called them crisis pregnancy centers. They were primarily counseling centers providing resources, important resources to mothers who were in what we called crisis pregnancies back then. Diapers, baby clothes, baby wipes, referrals for medical care, housing, counseling, love, and all of that good stuff. And that's what we were calling, that's what we did. But I, in 1996, I would gear that as the time frame. So we opened our pregnancy center in Seattle in 1982. I went in 1987 to the Christian Action Council, stepped down there in 1992 to start NIFLA, to be a legal organization. We began to build a legal network. And I began to notice, well, I didn't really get a notice. I was aware of the fact that the old-fashioned crisis pregnancy center, now we call them pregnancy resource centers, they were, while doing a lot of good, clothes, baby clothes, diapers, cribs, a woman would come in and they'd give her a pregnancy test, and if it read positive, they would refer out to a doctor to confirm the pregnancy. So doing good things, but we're seeing very, very few truly abortion-minded women, and they were essentially social service agencies. And I used to call them when I speak at trainings, I say, is it your vision to be a Christian diaper distribution service? Is that what you want to be? Is that your mission, to be a Christian diaper distribution service? I'm not mocking that, but I don't think that's why you're involved in this at all. You want to intervene in the lives of mothers who are seriously considering abortion. So I noticed in 1996, really, that wasn't happening a lot. A lot of diapers, baby clothes being passed out to women who had no intention of aborting. That's a good thing, but that's not the mission. But I did notice that in California, because we had a legal case in California in the 80s that forced it, then crisis pregnancy centers, they lost a big case. The court put an injunction on their pregnancy testing, saying you're practicing medicine without a license. So the senators in California said, okay, if you're going to hammer us and say we're illegally practicing medicine, why don't we legally practice medicine? And you'd be off our backs. So we began to help centers get licensed as medical clinics in California, essentially as a defensive mechanism. Well, what we soon discovered, if you're a licensed medical clinic, guess what? You can do a particular medical procedure called ultrasound. So the mother can come in, she tests positive on a pregnancy test, and you're practicing medicine by doing that, and then you give her an ultrasound exam to confirm, and guess what? She sees her baby. She actually sees her baby moving. And the result of that was phenomenal. These mothers were saying, oh, what's that looking thing on the screen? Well, that's her baby's heart. My baby's heart? She's been told it's a lot of tissue. And the numbers were phenomenal. Centers that are not medical, this is anecdotal information, but it seems to bear witness over the years. Centers that are not medical, just a pregnancy resource center, and just provide services and referrals, will see 20 to 25% of the truly abortion-minded mothers coming to them, changing their mind. They'll give them good counsel, they'll give them material, but they don't give them the ultrasound because that's a medical procedure. When they go medical, that number jumps up. Some centers are reporting 95% of those mothers are changing their mind when they get that visual image of their baby. And it isn't even a Gerber baby image they see. They see the baby's beating heart. In early pregnancy, that's about all you see, but you see that flickering heart. And you measure that heart. And what I tell people, every Every female in the world has a God-given maternal DNA in them. And they see that heart. They know. That's their maternal DNA, God-given kicking in. So phenomenal success on that. And
So,
so
Tom,
we launched our medical clinic program. And we began to convert centers to medical. And now that is the standard of practice. Like I say, of our 1,800 over members, over 600 now, probably close to 1,700, are licensed medical and performing ultrasound.
Awesome. So Mary has a question for you.
yes, Tom, I was just wondering if your work with NIFLA was the precursor to so many states requiring ultrasounds. When a
Yes, it
woman has
was. Yes, in fact, we launched it. It became the standard. Centers were doing it, and legislators were very interested in that. And say, yes, indeed, we had a big impact on that. Yes.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it is true. Once a woman does see her baby in the womb, it's very, very hard to be abortion minded after that. Not impossible, but very hard. And so that's incredible work. And so, Tom, why don't you talk about some of I know you mentioned one lawsuit, the one in California, but some other important lawsuits that you've been involved in.
Well, the foundation of all the victories we're having now in the federal courts, it begins with NIFLA versus Becerra. Javier Becerra was then the case was filed in 2016. California passed a law mandating that pro-life princess put a sign in their waiting area in 40-point font now, 40-point font, and it was directed to the women who come in. It would say, did you know that, number one, you have a right to a state-funded abortion? And number two, here is an 800 number for you to call to get that procedure started.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
And guess who promoted that and looked for it?
Planned Parenthood.
Their attorney general at that time was Kamala Harris.
Ah, okay.
And she lobbied for it. So we sued it. It became effective January 1, 2016. We knew that we firmly believe it's unconstitutional. So we sued Kamala Harris. So the case was actually NIFLA versus Harris. Now, she moved up to the Senate, and so she was replaced by Javier Becerra, who became the Attorney General. Javier Becerra, of course, served as the Secretary of HHS under Biden, and the scuttlebutt in Washington, D.C. As the last election was that if she is elected president, he will be her Attorney General. Okay, so plot thickens. So we sued, and we sued. Our theory was this is a violation of free speech rights. Of course, it's a violation of religious liberty. But there's questionable whether we're going to be that successful in federal court on that. The free speech rights, though, you have a First Amendment right to free speech. That includes you have a right not to be mandated by the government to speak something with which you fundamentally disagree. And this was a law mandating that pro-life centers, as we said in the media, are mandated to use the walls of their clinic as billboard advertisements for the abortion industry. And it was in the Ninth Circuit, which is a very hostile circuit to Christian values. When we lost in the early go-rounds, we lost at the Court of Appeals twice because there's a possibility you can have two hearings in the Court of Appeals. One by a three-judge panel, and then you can appeal if you move that to the full court, which we did. We lost both times. Now we have to go to the Supreme Court. Not an automatic right to go there. The Supreme Court gets 8,000 what we call petitions for writ of certiorari, and they only hear 1% or 80 cases, 80%. So mathematically, we don't have a good shot at this thing. But we did go there, and we did win 5-4. And this case has since been cited over 250 times in the federal court cases. We're winning we've got 7 cases still in federal court on other laws that we're fighting. We're virtually winning all of them based on the precedent in NIFLA versus Becerra. And one other thing that's very, very encouraging is, so there was a case a few months ago, Childs versus Salazar, which it was I'm trying to remember which state it was. Maybe Mary, you remember the state?
It was Colorado.
Colorado.
It was
Colorado.
called.
Yeah. And they passed a bill that criminalized what they call conversion therapy. Conversion therapy is when a Christian counselor, pastor, or priest is counseling someone who's in the homosexual lifestyle and trying to just convert them over to a heterosexual orientation in their counseling. Well, they made it a crime, and a counselor sued and won in the Supreme Court 8-1. The court citing NIFLA versus Becerra over 200 times, and 2 of the votes in the 8 in that decision were dissenters in NIFLA versus Becerra. In other words, they were against us in NIFLA versus Becerra, so they moved over.
Wow.
So
That's
we went
amazing.
from 5-4 decision to an 8-1 majority on this court right now.
Wow, that's amazing. And let me tell you, listening audience, if you want to sue the abortion industry, Planned Parenthood, whatever, contact NIFLA. They've been having great success. So what are you working on now, Tom?
Well, we've got some cases. Okay, so these people are very sneaky. And I'm going to give the devil his due. They come up with very creative, tough ways to. They can't do what they did. Although I'll say this: the state of Delaware ignored the NIFLA v. Becerra case and passed an almost identical law mandating you post a sign saying there are no medical professionals in this center. You should be aware of that in order to get proper medical care. Call. Okay. Well, first of all, that's forcing centers to lie, because a pregnancy center that is medical does have medical professionals. They do have a doctor. They do have nurses. It's forcing them to lie. And it's totally violation of NIFLA versus Becerra. We've won that now just a couple months ago, a few weeks ago. The state of Delaware backed off, agreed that this is unenforceable because of NIFLA versus Becerra, and they agreed to pay attorney fees on that too.
Oh, good.
Beautiful.
But the other states have done, and this is the one I want to say to your listening audience, because this is very serious. So how are they going about it now? Well, there's 2 cases, one in New York and one in California. They're identical fact patterns. In both states, the attorneys general, Letitia James in New York and Rob Bonta in California, sued pro-life centers for what they claim was deceptive and false advertising, because their websites advertised what we call APR, abortion pill reversal, which is a procedure that's been very effective. A woman takes the first abortion pill, decides she doesn't want that abortion. There's a procedure which includes a progesterone, an injection of progesterone, and
Progesterone. Is it progesterone?
Progesterone.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, got to get it right. Progesterone. Yeah, you know it. And it's about 70% effective if you can get to the woman in time.
Right.
Okay. So both attorneys general said that that's false advertising. It's junk medicine. There's no proof of this. They want to enjoin the pregnancy centers from advertising this on their websites. So we sued in federal court Letitia James in New York and won a preliminary injunction against her based on NIFLA versus Becerra. We sued Rob Bonta in California and lost in the early rounds. And the reason we lost, this is such a serious point. We should all be on our knees praying about this. See, you have a right to free speech under the Constitution. That was our theory. You can't force people to say something they don't believe in, okay? But the courts have carved out a lesser protected speech called commercial speech. So a used car dealer has a right to free speech, but because he's involved in a commercial transaction, he doesn't have a right to lie about his cars. He can be prosecuted or taken to court for deceptive advertising. Says that this car's going to get you 40 miles a gallon and it gets you 5, and it's a junker. He's lying. Free speech doesn't protect him. It's deceptive advertising. That's carved out because he's involved in commercial speech. Okay? Now, California argued that the pro-life centers are involved in commercial speech. Therefore, the state has a right to regulate them and ban them from saying this. And we lost in the district court on that one. It's on appeal now. Think about that for a minute. Okay, first of all, commercial speech, that's so obvious. You're selling something, you're getting financial gain from it. The used car dealer is selling a car, you're paying him money, that's a commercial transaction. So, of course, that's commercial speech. I don't have a problem with that. What is the commercial speech of a pregnancy center? Well, the state, now they argued this in New York and lost. In California, they won because the court said, well, they're putting this up on the website and they're fundraising on this. They're getting donations from people. They're giving money to them for this because of this advertisement. So that makes it commercial. Now, all right.
That gets
If
pretty
we
broad.
lose, well, all right. So I just use this as an example. Brother Jones is a traveling evangelist and traveling across the country giving revival services, standing up, telling people that Jesus is the only way, come to him and be saved. At the end of each sermon, they take a love offering for Brother Jones. Oh, is that commercial speech? He's making money off this. Whoa. So the state could come in and say it's hate speech because he's saying Jesus is the only way. Well, that's offensive to Muslims who believe Allah and Muhammad are the only way, or are way to heaven too. So, all right, every church, every Christian organization is going to come under this if we lose. And when I say if we lose, we won in New York. That's the Second Circuit. We're still fighting out detail on that, but we won. We lost in California. We're waiting for a Court of Appeals decision on that very issue. If Ninth Circuit, California, and New York, they disagree on the results in the end, that's called a circuit split. That will go to the Supreme Court. And that case that has serious implications. Every church, every Christian ministry.
Absolutely.
If you raise money on what you do, I guess you're a used car dealer, and therefore they can regulate you. That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and I can just see if that passes and is upheld, then every state can regulate all of these nonprofits, Christians, whatever, and say you have to post this on your websites or in your offices or whatever. I mean, this is just ludicrous, and I don't see how that would pass at all. But Mary's an attorney too, so I'm going to turn it over to see. I know she probably wants to talk to you about some things.
Well,
I'm sorry, I've dominated. I don't mean to dominate.
No, it's been great.
Well, I have a question if you've already argued in the Ninth Circuit.
Yeah, well, we lost at the district court. And then, as you know, Mary, when you go to federal court, you have two shots at it, potentially two shots. It's first assigned to a three-judge panel.
Yes.
And then whatever happens there, the loser has a right to appeal to the full court. I think there's 16 judges in the Ninth Circuit. So if we were to lose that three-judge panel, we would appeal what's called an en banc hearing. We did that in NIFLA versus Becerra. If we lose there, we go to the Supreme Court. But we argued this a year ago before a three-judge panel.
Okay.
Absolutely convinced that it's going to go 2-1 either way because I watched it. It's clear we had one judge in our camp. Clear we had one judge against. We weren't sure of the other one. He was very quiet. So, and they haven't ruled yet. And so, if they rule in favor of the state, we'll try to see if we can get a full hearing of the Court of Appeals. If that's denied, then you have that circuit split because the three-judge panel in New York ruled for us. So that's what we're waiting on. So, we're just waiting.
So how long is the process? How long do you expect to have to wait, Tom?
I wish I had an answer to that. Whenever the judges decide they want to do it.
Wow.
I think that the three-judge panel, if it was going 2-1, have been held 2-1 in our favor. I believe it's probably been held up by the dissenter who doesn't want to release the statement and try to lobby and twist arms and try to get a change in result. I don't know.
Maybe after the midterms or something.
Yeah, I know. But theoretically, I was thinking, well, if it comes out this spring and we lose, we may be headed to the Supreme Court this next fall, but we can't say that yet. So it's got to work its way out. I believe that the federal courts know the way the Supreme Court is, particularly after the Childs versus Salazar decision, that they will lose at the top. And so they want to just delay, kick the can down, and do everything possible to prevent these decisions from coming down. That's just my instinct, but I don't have any facts for that.
So I have a question for you, Tom, and that is really about I sit on the local board of our pregnancy. We're called the Pregnancy Help Center. We're changing the name because we have been a medical clinic, but we're becoming a full medical clinic. If there are listeners out there that have a resource center, do you have any suggestions or any advice for them if they need to get more into the target area where they're really focused on those abortion-minded women?
Yeah, thanks, Mary. Good question. First of all, the reason, when I go back to the beginning here, we found that when centers were going medical, and a number of things happened. Number one, what happened was their numbers of clientele increased dramatically. Now, why is that? Well, because a woman, when she comes into a pregnancy center, what is the number one question on her mind?
Is
her
she
question
pregnant?
is, am I pregnant?
Yeah.
Now, only a medical diagnosis can answer that. And that's why the old-fashioned crisis pregnancy center became pretty ineffective in reaching those women, because they couldn't give her an answer. They'd say, well, you take a pregnancy test that's positive. We can't tell you anything other than go see a doctor, and here's the name of a doctor you should call. And that wasn't working very well, and it would never work. She ends up with Planned Parenthood. She calls them and they say, come on in. Yeah. And we'll give you abortion if you're pregnant. So the reason it was so impactful is centers as medical can now advertise free medical diagnosis of pregnancy. Believe you're pregnant, come in and find out for sure. That's what she wants. That's the reason centers should be going medical. Because if she walks out of that center without an answer to that question, you've probably lost her.
Yeah.
If she walks out of that center and say, well, here's a doctor to call, she's not, you probably lost her. Maybe a few you might get, but no. So that's why. Now, some centers don't have the resources to do it. They're in very small rural areas. And, we understand that's why not all 100% of our centers are medical. And we work for a resource center regardless of, where they're at in that process.
Awesome.
But that to me is the most compelling reason for a center to go medical.
Yes, absolutely. Because I know if they call Planned Parenthood, they're going to get them in right away. And they're going to run that pregnancy test, and she'll probably have that abortion before she leaves. So, yes, it's very important for pregnancy resource centers to go ahead and become medical resource centers. So that's good news. So do you have any other questions? I know I want Tom to just address our audience. Was there anything else, Mary, before I do?
I was just thinking of a conversation you and I had before we were recording. If you're going to ask that.
Yeah, I would love to ask him that question, Tom. So I've been seeing these commercials on television. Planned Parenthood, is desperate. Now they're running commercials saying if they're not funded, women are going to lose access to quality health care. They're going to lose cancer screening. They're going to lose pregnancy help. They're going to lose STD testing. They're going to lose health care, quality health care. And that just makes me so angry. And even in the image, in one of the images, they had women in the background. One was holding a sign that mifepristone is safe. That's false and deceptive trade practices, if you ask me. And so I'm wondering, is there a base that we can sue them because they are misleading? They do not do cancer screening. And mifepristone is not safe. So that's kind of what I was talking to Mary about earlier.
No, yeah, but there are two problems with us. Number one, the reason they sue us is they have attorneys general who are on the state, payroll to go after us. They have, Rob Bont in California hates pro-lifers, hates pregnancy centers. He's gladly taking state resources to sue us. We're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. Pursue a lawsuit. And so that in and of itself. So where are our attorneys general? We have a few pro-lifers out there, but they don't seem to be interested.
Well, I'll contact my state. So what I need to do is contact our state attorney general and see if he'd be willing to do that.
Yeah. You're in Texas,
I'm
right,
in
Mom?
Texas, and we're getting a new attorney general. In fact, I don't even know if he's been sworn in yet or not, but I know,
I would really request a meeting from him
Okay.
and say we need to go after these. But Texas is Texas. Texas is pro-life. Let's take another state, Iowa. Would Iowa do that? I think they have a Republican, but I don't think they're going to touch it.
Mm.
Okay, so you could privately do it. That's the other answer. But it's going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars to do that. No, those are the two problems. But we need to hold these attorneys general in our red states to do this. That's what we need to do. And I tell you, the rubber meets the road on this one. And the guy runs as a pro-life candidate. So any candidate for your AG office, I don't know who's running. I know Paxton he was the attorney general.
No. He's running for Senate now. Yeah, he's running for Senate now. But I know who won the attorney general, Mays Middleton, and I know him. I've served with him before. So we'll see. I'll do my best to contact
You know
him.
what you need to do, Molly, and if people from Texas listening here, seek a meeting with him now while he's running for office. Get him on the record that he will do this. Get him on the record.
Well,
yeah. He's gonna have a lot of people. So you can't do that. Leave that alone. So we'll see where he sits. I don't know him. I'm sure he runs as a pro-lifer. But is he really? I mean, I'm to the point in all my years of this. Okay, that's fine. You say you're pro-life. We'll see when you get in. And I've been so disappointed so many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I just want to put a plug in for the Missouri Attorney General and the Florida Attorney General,
Yes.
both of whom are suing Planned Parenthood.
And
So
Louisiana. And Louisiana, right?
Louisiana is suing the FDA.
Yeah, FDA. Yeah. Well, we've got several states we can work with then. So we're about out of time, Tom. So I want you to tell the audience how they can contact you for interviews.
Okay, sure. NIFLA.org. I have to go to media at NIFLA.org and request an interview. I'd love to appear on anything they have, speaking. We'd love to do that. But I'd also want to encourage, if you're in a community where your center is a pregnancy resource center and non-medical, go to NIFLA.org. We have all the information there. We have the turnkey program. It's going to take some effort and it's going to take some fundraising. But I find that particularly a pregnancy center that's not medical, at their gala, promote this as we want to do this. This is why. Usually your supporters get excited and provide the resources. It's going to cost a good $50,000 to do that, but half of that is the cost of your ultrasound machine. And that is the last thing on the you don't buy an ultrasound machine before you're ready to use it. So there's a lot of prep work. So it's a doable thing, but you gotta, give the vision. Without a vision, people perish. Got to give the vision.
Amen. Well, thank you so much, and I'm going to have you on again. We're going to talk about, and I want our audience to know. I want you to tell everybody that that is coming up as part 2 of this interview with Tom Glessner with NIFLA. That's NIFLA. We're going to be talking about the criminalization of women who have illegal abortions. And that's been something Mary and I have been wanting to touch for a long, long time. And I'm so glad Tom is going to join us on this conversation because we believe it's absurd. It's absurd. It's ridiculous. So anyway, we're going to do that on part 2. So y'all be sure and watch part 2. Share this with all your friends. And we want to thank you. Thank you, Tom, for joining us. Thank you, Mary. And thank you all for listening in. And we will see you again next time. God bless you. Bye-bye.